This one thing that I'm going to talk about in the video, if you do this, the regrets you're going to have in life, most people will have this amount of regrets, a lot of regrets, right? You will have less regrets. Now, I cannot say you won't have regrets, but you can choose to have less regrets, right? That is something you can choose by doing this one thing. And it's to pay attention to what you're doing and what you have been doing. What you're doing right now, what you did today, and what you have been doing for the past week, for the past month, for the past year. What did you do last year? What did that do? What you did last year, what was the result of that? What did that do? The things that you did last year. People don't really pay attention to that. And then if the result is something they don't want, they act surprised. Oh, how did this happen? People call these things like the results you get, which you don't want. People call these things consequences, but these are not really consequences. This is just like result of like you do something, right? Cause and then effect. Like if you eat garbage all the time and mentally you're not okay, your health is just terrible, right? And you do this for years and then you have some serious health problem, right? And a lot of people will act surprised, like, oh, how did this happen? And this is just one example. You can take this in, like, you will understand in so many ways people do this, right? And then they act surprised, like, how did this happen? And this is like, and people will cause these things consequences. Oh, you didn't work out, right? You didn't eat healthy food, right? So you're not healthy anymore. If you didn't work out, you're not active. You're mentally, you're not doing the best. And people might call these things consequences. It's not consequences, because objectively, if you look at it, it's cause and effect. Because if you don't do what you don't do, if you do this, then you go to the gym or you work out at home, what is this gonna do? You're gonna be healthy, you're gonna be fit, right? Well, and when you do something that you shouldn't do, but you do it, like not working out at all, eating garbage, right? What is gonna happen? You know what's gonna happen, and you are gonna call that consequence. That's not consequence. That's just cause and effect. Because here's the thing, right? When you are going to the gym, and what happened when you went to the gym? You were healthy. You were working out, so mentally you were doing better. You had some muscle. You were doing better. And what would you call that? Would you call that consequence? You wouldn't call that consequence. Just because you don't want something to happen and it does happen, knowing that it will happen and you don't want it to happen, but you do something that will cause it to happen, you call it consequence. That's not consequence. That's your choice. You chose that. If you eat garbage all the time, you are choosing to be not healthy, which you would know, right? But I think that people don't fully realize it. And that's why a lot of times people do things for years which are not good for them, and then that thing has a result which you call consequence, and then they act surprised. Oh, how did this happen? So, and then this is just regrets, right? Because if you eat garbage for years, you don't work out at all, and then you're not doing the best, you might have serious problems, health problems. And then you'll say, I wish I was just working out when I was younger, whatever, right? And this would be a regret of yours. You can choose to, you could choose to do something about it. And I understand, I'm not saying that you're not gonna have regrets at all in your life. You will, and that's understandable. But a lot of things you do have control over. A lot of things you just don't pay attention to. Like, can you go to the gym? You can. If you don't want to go to the gym, you can work out at home. Can you eat healthy food? You can. If you're eating food, you probably can afford to eat. Yeah, maybe not the best healthy food, if you're not doing the best, like if you don't have that much money, right? But certain things you can get to eat better for yourself, right? That's good for your health. You can do that. So if you can do these things, you're choosing to be healthy. And when you don't do these things, when you do the opposite, you're choosing to be not healthy. But then after years, you keep on doing this thing that you don't eat healthy, you don't work out. And after years, you have some consequences, results, but you call it consequences. And then you say, oh, I wish I had done that. You chose to do this. It was your choice. How can you say that, how this could happen? I understand. I'm not going to say that everyone knows, like fully understands, like they don't, like they know, but they don't fully realize the consequences of things like this. Again, this is just one example. But in a lot of situations, it's the same way. You do something which is not good for you, and a lot of times, some things which are not good for you, you don't realize it, right? Like the things you might be doing right now, which are not good for you, you might not realize it. That's also another thing, right? You might realize it later. And that is why I said to pay attention to what you're doing. So what are you doing every day? When you wake up in the morning, what are you doing? And pick everything that I do, every activity, whatever it is. And I do this because you're going to do this, what you're doing every day. You're going to do it for a year, for a month, whatever, right? What is going to happen if I do these things, which I'm doing for years? What is going to be the result of this? If you use your phone all the time, if you scroll on the internet, if you scroll on TikTok and things like that all the time, what do you think that is going to do? There is going to be some result of that, which you will call consequence, right? If you wake up in the day and you start using your phone and you keep scrolling and blah blah blah, right? What do you think that's going to do? Years will pass and you keep on doing this, and that might have some serious effect, because it can. And then you will be like, oh, I didn't realize this could happen. And I understand, I will say this, some of us just don't realize the consequences of these things. And that is why I'm saying to pay attention to what you're doing. Because a lot of things which are bad for you, you might not just realize it. So that's why you have to pay attention to every single thing you do. Every single thing. When you wake up in the morning, pay attention to what you do. When you wake up, what are you doing? Do you just use your phone when you wake up, or are you even present in the day? Like, what is like are you even present, like for even a minute? Are you like genuinely present about, like, when you just are present and you observe what's happening around you? Are you even like, is that even happening? Are you even doing that? For most people, that's not the case. So you look at everything you do, and this is so easy to understand. Even if you somehow, I mean, it's so easy to understand. How you would you not understand it? But look into the past, what you did last year. What was the result of that? What happened? Doesn't matter what it is, if it was good or bad, right? Because what you want to happen and what you don't want to happen, the things that you want to happen, which I already said, right? The things you do and intentionally, which are good for you, and they do give you results which are good for you, right? But things you do sometimes intentionally and sometimes unintentionally, they have consequences, which are results really, but you call them consequences. Both of these two things, when you pay attention, what was I going to say? Come on. Happens sometimes. Come on, what am I going to say? What was I going to say about this? Nevertheless, I don't remember. Kind of got out of my head. But nevertheless, I think you do get what I'm talking about. I kind of forgot. It's funny, but it happens sometimes. But I hope you get what I mean. You pay attention to what you have done, what that has done, and what you do now, what is that going to do? It's just that simple. It's not complicated. And it might seem so simple, and it is simple, but it's very useful because whatever you do now, that you pay attention to what you're doing, whatever it is that you do, and you do this every day, you pay attention to what you're doing and what this is going to do. Everything that you do, what will be the result of this if you keep on doing this for a year, for years, right? You pay attention to it. And if there's something that you're doing which is bad for you, and you know you're doing it, you're paying attention, but you are doing it, that is your choice. So when you will have some result of it, which you would call a consequence, you cannot complain. A lot of people complain. You cannot complain then because you chose that, right? If you choose to eat garbage now and 5 years later, 10 years later, there is a serious problem, you chose that problem. Because you are aware now. Yeah, maybe you didn't realize it later, but if you genuinely, that's what I'm saying, to pay attention, right? So when you do pay attention and when you do realize that yes, I will have this thing, this thing that I'm doing, I'm eating garbage, I'm using my phone all the time, this will have some effect. And when that effect comes, that which you will call consequence, that result, you cannot say, I wish I had not done that. Because you chose to do that. Because you're paying attention. You understand what I mean? So now it makes you feel responsible. So you're a lot less likely to do this, what you're doing, if whatever it is that's it's not good for you. Because you're choosing to do this if it's not good for you, and if it has some consequence, you cannot complain because you're choosing to do this and you're aware that you're doing it. So this is not going to be a regret anymore. This is going to be a choice that you chose that. So don't call it a regret, though, I regret this, I wish I had done that instead of this. You can do this right now. A lot of things you will regret later in the future, which you might be doing right now. Look at them, pay attention, understand the importance of things which are important, and the importance of things, not importance, but like just understand the effects, the bad effects that things can have which are not good for you, and that's just going to save you a lot of time. So yeah, that's that. I hope the video helps in some way, because this is going to save you so much time and so much regret. So yeah. Another thing, a lot of you, if you have watched this video to this point, you have listened to what I have said, and you might, most people will agree with what I'm saying, but you still will watch this video and you're just gonna do what you normally do, and you're not gonna do anything which I have said. Here's the thing, right? A lot of times you change when there's pain, and the things that you're doing right now, they're not affecting you that much. Like you don't feel pain basically, so you will keep on doing these things, but these things will have effect, these things will have consequence, and that can be painful. And then you will realize that, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that, right? And that's just what would you call this? That's just learning. Like, people learn the hard way a lot of times, and it's sad because a lot of times you can choose to just stop doing certain things which are not good for you, and a lot of people keep on doing the things that they don't keep on doing the things that they do which are not good for them, but they realize that they shouldn't have done those things when there's pain. So they learn the hard way. You can choose to stop doing certain things, whatever it is that you're doing, which you know is not good for you. If you don't know what's, a lot of times you might not even know certain things, you might not know fully that they are not good for you. So look at everything you do, and not just everything you do, but even the things you think. How do you think? What are you thinking about in the day? That's very important as well. So are all of these things good for you, or all of these things, or some of these things are bad for you? What can you do about them? And in a lot of situations you can do things about them. So it's your choice to learn the hard way. You can choose to learn the hard way, right? Or you can choose to just understand that I can just choose to learn now instead of going through the pain that I will have to go through. I can just choose to learn this lesson now, that certain things which I shouldn't be doing, which will have consequences, results, but you call it consequences, right? We call it consequences as humans, right? Those results I can avoid. Results, consequences I can avoid. So I hope the video helps, and you can avoid a lot of regrets, and you don't have to learn the hard way. It's your choice to. If you learn the hard way, that's also your choice. So that's, yeah, that's